you very much for that. Hello, welcome to Train Reaction. My name is Bill Bailey. Now, this programme is where comedians interview other comedians. My guest, if you can call him that, is a guest. It feels wrong to say that. Like, come round. Hey, I've prepared some water and a comfy chair. No, he's one of this country's finest comic actors. He wrote and starred in the wonderful sitcom Spaced and repeated the trick for film in the brilliant Shaun of the Dead. A few clues there. He will shortly be appearing alongside Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 3. I wanted to interview him because basically I think that he's one of the most intelligent and perceptive writers of comedy with a great depth of understanding for it, as well as having a rare talent for performing it. And also, because he's an old friend, I haven't seen him for a while, and this is probably the last time I'll get to chat to him before he goes totally Hollywood. So, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Simon Pegg.
Oh, sorry.
Simon, hey, how are you? All right?
Hello, mate.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Now, I've planned to conduct this interview in two parts. The first part is where I tell you that the interview will be conducted in two parts. Okay. And the second part is I haven't worked that bit out yet. So, the brief was, you can interview him in any style that you like. Great. So I thought I might interview in the style of the Salem witch trials.
Oh. Do you leave me in a ducking chair?
That's true, yeah. When you were writing Space, did Miss Jessica see a demon? Did she? Master
I don't know nothing.
No, you do. No, so we won't do that. Did you notice there I slipped into a West Country accent to imply some
sort of followed like some feckless sheep.
You did. A feckless West Country sheep. Do you find that, actually, because I know you're from the West Country as well,
yeah,
that people do sort of assume a certain, I don't know, it's very ruralist.
Yeah,
people have a go at you for being from the West Country.
Yeah, they assume that you're inbred, for starters, that your local news has no value, which it generally doesn't, really. Yeah, they do kind of make assumptions about your sort of... Well, mind you, they do roll a cheese down a hill where I come from, so what can you do? You know what I mean? I never thought this was strange when I was a kid. It was like, every May Day, we all went up Cooper's Hill, and we rolled a cheese down the hill, and everyone chased it. And it was like, pretty much, like, very steep, and everyone ran down the hill, and occasionally people would die. It wasn't until I got here that people said, you come from that place where they roll a cheese down a hill. And I was like, yeah, so what was the... Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird.
Yeah, cheese roller. I know, it is. You get fed up with it. And also, it's not seen as a kind of a cool accent, the West Country. It's always seen as, immediately people start looking at you askance.
Well, it's that kind of, I don't know, I guess every country has its kind of rural accent, and ours is particularly bursome on both sides, on East and West. But there's a great tradition of good comedy coming out of the West Country. I mean, yourself from Bath and
Portishead.
Portishead. They're funny. Dummy arms.
See, the thing is, accent, in adverts for cars, they're always like French urbanites.
Yeah.
Hey, va-va-voom, papa, Nicole, zoom, zoom, zoom. Then they go, here, that Vauxhall Vectra goes like a bloody rocket. Some bloke with a pipe. Look at him. Bloody brilliant, look at him.
Let him go.
Look at him.
Well, yeah.
So, yes, prejudice. We've come through it, though. Good.
We are. We've come through it by moving to London. We got the hell out of there.
We got there, thrown off the cheese-rolling stigma and moved on. So you moved... And now, of course, recently you've just finished Mission Impossible 3.
I have, yes.
Because a big budget thing, It's a big sort of franchise, isn't it? I mean, Mission Impossible.
$180 million was my pay packet. No, it was actually... It was extraordinarily low, actually. I kind of got my flights and a cap that said Paramount, and that was it.
New lunch and vouchers.
Yeah, I got one free dinner, and I was allowed to lick Tom Cruise's leg.
Did you get to hang out with the cruiser?
I did a bit, yeah. He's a thoroughly kind of preconception busting kind of person. He was not that short, and he didn't talk about Scientology at all, and he was very, very funny, and he laughed a lot. Yeah, I think it's because I was English, and the Americans tend to have that kind of thing with the English that they're so crazy. So whenever I'd sort of like say a joke to him, he'd go, this guy, he's crazy, which was pleasing to me. And Ving Rhames, who was, I did a scene with Ving Rhames and Lawrence Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne is Morpheus, obviously, in the first Matrix, which is great. And he actually started going into his Matrix lines at one point, just to show off.
Yeah.
But Ving Rhames wanted to make a Shaun of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead crossover hip-hop zombie movie called... Swear to God, this is true. Of course he's going, you're D-Shaun of the Dead. We should do it. D-Shaun of the Dead. And I'm kind of going, OK, Ving, because he's kind of tall
Gangster
and
zombies.
Yeah. Zombies.
Zombies, yeah. G-Unit zombies. All the bling pulls their heads off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Actually, because it's funny, I have to tell you that when I found out about you doing Mission Impossible, I was filming a documentary about otters. That sort of thing I do. You get to hang out with Hollywood Star. I get to hang out with Northumberland's premium otter specialist. And I was up near Newcastle, and it was pouring with rain. It was freezing cold, and I just had to do a scene where I had to pick up some otter shit and hold it up to the camera, and go, "This is where the otters have left their thing," like that. And I was just holding this scene. Went cut. We're on a break, and I picked up the paper, and it was like Simon Pegg to star in Mission Impossible 3 alongside Tom Cruise. As I was holding this otter turn, and I go, "Yeah, I've made the wrong choices." I feel along the way.
Oh.
Yeah. So there we go.
It's it's been greatly overrated. I'm not in it that much. It's a very quick thing.
Yeah. But I bet it's a bit of an insight into the whole kind of Hollywood thing and the star.
My trailer was bigger than my house.
Yeah.
And, the food, the catering was amazing. It was like running all day long. And here you get breakfast and you get your lunch and you get your dinner.
Yeah.
There you just get, there was a little coffee bar that Tom Cruise had provided, like a mini Starbucks kind of thing.
Wow.
And there was just a buffet all the day. I just sat there drinking smoothies and eating because it was like, it's just there.
Yeah.
Can you come to set, Simon? But, it was remarkable.
Yes, I was eating a Twix in the rain.
A little bit of otter.
A little.
Thank you for the Twix. It was kind of long and brown.
Yeah, it was like... yeah, they kind of lay them in parallel lines. Very neat otters. I want to go back a bit. Let's go a bit of background. You were born in Gloucester.
I was.
And you went to school in the West Country.
Yes.
And I read somewhere that you actually felt that you wanted to do comedy from birth. Is this?
Yes.
How do you know that?
I came out and did a Type 5, and I thought, and it went down well with the nurses. My nan used to take me to this thing called the Home League, and I used to get up and tell a joke, and I'd tell some terrible racist...
How old were you at this time?
I was 7.
7?
Yeah. And I'd tell something I heard Jim Davidson tell on some programme that they all loved, because they're all racists, obviously, old people. I mean, they are. But... and that was my sort of first...
Yeah, I often see a big burning cross outside an elderly nursing home.
They love it. Their little sheets that they wear. And then I remember I did my first kind of stand-up gig where I wrote my own material at school when I was 12. But I didn't really... I knew what stand-ups did, and I really honestly remember going up and talking about kids' programmes. But my material went, do you remember the Clangers? That was funny, wasn't it? And then, what about Mr. Ben? Oh, he was good. And then I set my alarm off on my watch and went, oh, time for me to go. And all the second and third years thought I was an idiot, and all the fourth and fifth years thought I was really cute. So I did gigs for them.
It was a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, because actually, it was at 7 that you had a bit of an epiphany, a bit of a pivotal moment.
Yes,
because
I guess I did.
we're talking here, it's 1977, you're in Gloucester, you're at the ABC cinema.
Yes, I was.
And,
You've done your
and
research.
I was watching. No, I was in a van across the road with high-powered spectacles. No. It's 1977. It's the ABC cinema in Gloucester. It's a little bit drizzly, and your mum takes you to see Star Wars.
Yeah.
And this was a bit of a moment.
It was. I remember it being very sort of... all the kids were talking about it, and Christopher Dodman had a transfer set, and I remember not knowing which one was Luke and which one was Han. An idiot. And then, I went along to see it, and I guess, like many kids at that age, not because of what it was as a story even, or as a science fiction film, but as what it was as socially, as an event that changed the structure of cinema and changed things for the better or for the worse in contemporary movies. And that's what I thought when I was 7. Yeah. No, I didn't. It's got lasers! But I remember coming out of the cinema with a poster all rolled up, just running down the street going, doo, doo, doo.
In some ways, it was a bit of a pivotal year, 1977. It's kind of... there was punk was happening here. Elvis died.
Yeah.
Groucho Marx died 3 days later, and didn't get in the papers really much.
No.
You know, 'cause,
I think he did it on purpose, just to sort of be subtle.
Hey, a little gag.
You didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be on the back page with the sports. Yeah. and it seemed to be that it was a kind of a new era of popular culture.
I think just in terms of America's psyche at the time, and it just hit all the right buttons. It was post-Vietnam, America was very down on itself, it was very upset, very embarrassed, and it needed to be celebrated as a force of good, and this is what Star Wars did.
At university, didn't you write a thesis?
Does it show?
On Star Wars.
I did. I wrote a thesis called Marxism. What was it?
It's the way that you analysed Star Wars from the perspective of Marxist theories on consent.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. It was the whole thing was that if by watching Star Wars and not being critically objective, you inherently adhere to the sort of reactionary ideologies.
With lasers.
But with lasers! Yeah, it was interesting. It was fun. All those things like films like Raiders, all those films, they dealt a lot of the time with having big weapons. And big weapons being good in the hands of righteous people and bad in the hands of bad people.
Right.
But this is a time of nuclear proliferation. Everyone's worrying about big weapons, even to the point where Raiders is the best one. If you don't look at it, it's not a problem. Do you know what I mean? It's like, don't look, it's fine, we're dealing with it. But if you look away, you won't get killed. And that was, you know...
Because it was a very clear good and evil sort of thing running through all of those.
Yeah.
The film, the whole... I mean, on the face of it, quite simplistic, but as I suppose, at the time that it came, at the end of the 70s, it was quite a potent galvanising effect on other films.
Totally. It's very... Yeah, because it's very classic. It's very literally black and white, you know.
Yeah.
You got Darth Vader in his black costume and Luke in his little white costume. And also, it's quite interesting because it celebrates young white America very much.
Yes.
And... all the older characters, a lot of the older characters are British, and they represent an older order that America's trying to get away from, because that's our fault that they're bad, and they're all new and young and good. And even to the point where their first black character double-crossed them. And then nobody really complained about that. It was like, yeah, we've got this black guy, he's brilliant. He's a liar.
I love there's a reference in Space, isn't it, when Mike rats you out to the Matrix guys, and you go, you Landau. Yeah. You Lando.
This would be laughing at my own joke.
Yeah. After you left college, you moved up to London.
I did.
And you started doing stand-up.
Yes.
Is that about right?
I started off doing comedy poems with a goldfish, and then the poems got shorter, and the links got longer, and the goldfish died, and eventually I became a stand-up. But no, I started off very kind of twee, and I wore a lot of cardigans, and you know, I traded on my looks mainly. That's a joke. Because everyone always says, "Oh my God, that's the hardest job in the world," or "I'd hate to do that," and it's not, is it? It's like the best job in the world.
Yeah.
Because you get an immediate reaction. As long as you're going down well, you get an immediate reaction. Or if you're going down badly, you get one as well. But it involves bottles. But it's a real. It's the crack cocaine of performance. You know, it just hits you straight away. Not that I know what that does.
It's a snake bite performance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a snake bite black. That's what we drink.
That's what we drink. Of course we do. Stereotype number 4.
Pint of that down here, after the cheese.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a weird thing, but I think those student gigs are pretty good for.
It's quite a sort of a baptism of fire in some ways.
I hated it when you turn up to a gig and within seconds it'll be evident that the person who was putting it on did not know what they were doing. Yeah. I did a gig in Wet Wang once in Yorkshire. It was a real place. That straight away funny, although they didn't seem to think so. And I literally did a gig in the corner of a pub with the mic they used to order the food. So I sort of got there, and your heart just sinks. You see the room and you see the people, and you just think, they're not going to want to watch me. And then I got past the mic through a kind of like a hatch. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. Pointless.
You do gigs in the corner of pubs, and then just before you went on, they just turned the telly off.
Yeah.
Right, we got a comic on now.
Have you ever turned up to a gig? I did this once and once only. Turned up, walked into the room, looked around, and went, "Oh, is that comedy on tonight?" And then left.
Not worth it.
Just ran.
No, for your soul.
Yeah, it's too bad.
We toured New Zealand together in '96, and that was the first time we really got to know each other. And I remember we had a night in Auckland where we were sitting in an apartment watching zombie movies for the entire evening. You probably look back now and think, God, yeah, it was, 10 years ago, I'm sitting watching zombie movies, and now there you are, surrounded by zombies.
Well, I credit that night in a way as the time that it kind of reignited my love, because we basically got out the uncensored Dawn of the Dead, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we watched it, and we were a little bit worse for wear, as you get in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And we sat watching this
Ripped.
film. Yeah, we were ripped, right? Anyway, that was the night Shaun of the Dead was kind of born, at least my half of it. But
Yeah.
it was a staggering time, wasn't it?
Yeah, went all round, to Australia, and then I met this guy in Australia who was this fantastic he was like the proper outback guy who would just talk about these things, where, Glenn, he was called. Glenn.
Tumours, boomers, woomers.
Yeah. And this guy, he was the real deal, and he would talk constantly about survival in the outback in the most ludicrously graphic way. And he'd go, yeah, what do you want to get? You want to get yourself a wombat? What do you want to do? Cut it, slit it open, slit it right open, couple of pounds of butter up its guts, stick it on the fire, beautiful. And that was his kind of mantra.
But the funny thing is that Bill had him on video, and Bill showed me this video of him, and he was talking about microwave hamburgers.
Yeah.
Remember? And they said you can get tumours from them, and he went, I don't know, tumours, boomers, woomers. And I remember being so apoplectic with laughter, I had to crawl to the toilet. Bill, we were both in absolute, when it's painful, and if it's assisted by anything as well, it can get dangerous.
Yeah.
And I was in the toilet going having a wee and going, and I could hear Bill laughing in the other room, and it went on for about 5 minutes of just stupid crying, eye-busting about this guy, Glenn, who you later adapted into the character.
Into the thing, yeah. Well, which we'll come to now, because then you got into doing some TV in about '95. You did a sketch show called Six Pairs of Pants.
That's right, yeah.
Which I actually saw a bit of, and it was great.
Yeah, it's all right. It was quite funny. That's where I met Jessica Stevenson.
Right, because I think it was just around. Then I think you had a time you appeared in Alan Partridge.
Yeah,
a couple of episodes of that. You went on tour. They did the Steve Coogan's live tour, The Man Who Thinks He's It.
That's it.
Which I actually went to see, and I thought you had a brilliant character, this kind of harassed stage manager character, who would just kind of link the whole show together.
That's right.
It was a brilliant device.
It was a mad year, because it was a whole year. We toured for the first 6 months of '98, which is just rock and roll beyond belief, and then we did Big Train for 6 weeks, and then we went into the West End for the rest of the year. So it was like a real packed year. Yeah. And it was a very sort of integral show. Everything kind of... Did anyone see it here?
Yeah.
Oh, did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kind of ringing endorsement you need.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
What's it about? Phil Bailey's live show is amazing.
Yeah, I saw his Otters thing, so yeah. He's the Otter Whisperer, they call him. Live it! They rear up, punch him, and Glenn turned up. Yeah,
I've had a batter in his
That's
Oh, man.
Yeah, yes. Because actually that was the inspiration for a character I did in the show, Is It Bill Bailey, which you appeared in every episode and were excellent in. And that was a time, I think, when... you were you're getting a lot of parts as a comic actor as opposed to a stand-up. Yeah. Was that a conscious thing, or was it just something which you wanted to get into? Or?
I guess so. I kind of, I saw stand-up as a kind of performance. It's acting in a way, because you go up and you're playing a kind of a part. You're playing an extension of you or whatever. But, that was a lot of fun. And that was the 2 weeks before I started the Coogan tour that I did. That was the very beginning of '98. Yeah. And that was the first time I ever actually worked with... Oh, no, it was the second time I'd worked with Edgar Wright, who directed the show, and obviously directed us in Space as well.
We'll talk about Space then, because really this, I think, it's a tremendous achievement. It's what I think probably the most perfectly realised sitcom, I think, that we've seen in recent years. Okay. It's brilliantly conceived and very richly written. There's wonderful references, and actually, I've been rewatching a lot of the episodes, and there's a kind of depth to the characters which you don't get in sitcoms, and I think... It's down to the writing and obviously the performance, but did you set out to write the kind of thing that it ended up as?
Basically, there was no show at that time that was really saying anything to us as people, that nobody seemed to be talking. I think it's wrong to try and throw loads of things out and hope somebody catches something. It's good to single one person out and throw something directly, and you'll find that there are lots of people out there that feel the same way. Yeah. And so we kind of decided to write something that was very specific to us and very personal, hoping that what we were going through was a shared experience. And so we wrote Space from a very personal point of view. A lot of it's very autobiographical. I was just out of a long-term relationship when it started, and I was still smarting from that, so a lot of Tim's grumpiness was mine, and Jessica is basically Daisy, but inordinately more talented and motivated. And it was a chance to work with people that we really enjoyed working with. You know, we always wanted you to play Bilbo. We wrote Nick, the part of Mike. He wasn't even an actor, so it was kind of, you know, I love Spaced, and I'm so proud of it. And it upsets me that we haven't been able to do more. And I always say...
Did you want to do more?
Yes, absolutely. It wasn't... Basically, the truth of the matter is we finished the second series. We were so dog-tired from... It's an incredibly hard show to make, but it's a soul-destroying experience. And sometimes we had little fallouts occasionally. Or I mean, Jess and me and Edgar had a real amazing relationship that was just... It was really creative, but it was stormy sometimes. And we get tired of each other and get frustrated and take it out on each other. And so we get to the end of the shoot and we were all knackered, you know. Obviously, still very much in love, but it was like, let's not do that again for a little bit. What I really would love to do, and I hope I can do this, we can do this at some point in the future, is 1 hour, finish it all off, tie up all the loose ends, get everybody where they're going to be, because we know where they all end up, you know. There's a history to all of them, including you. And...
OK.
Are you available in 07?
You're out, you're on a dual carriageway somewhere.
And this massive otter comes along.
Bites your head off. But I mean, it's quite... a bit of writing I've done, it is a very time-consuming, very draining process, writing comedy, and and particularly sitcom, we've got to write characters and plot and all this kind of thing.
The writing was fine. Me and Jessica used to, with the second series, we got in an office together, and for the first 2 weeks, all we did was make faces at each other across the table. and then we'd really laugh, and then there'd be another face at the end of the laugh. And that would go on all day. And then we'd go, should we go to IKEA and get some office stuff? And then we'd drive off, and then I'd take her home and I'd go home. And that part of the writing was fun.
Yeah. So that's a great achievement. And then came the film from I suppose the working with Edgar.
Yeah, you know, Edgar's obviously destined to be a hugely successful director, and so I just clung to his small coattails and got carried along. And we decided to write this zombie film. We'd done a scene in Spaced when I was fighting zombies. Had such a great time. Thought, wouldn't it be great to make our own zombie film? You know, Peter Jackson did it. Romero did it, really. I mean, he just did it off his own back. Yeah. And we started to formulate this idea about a kind of an underachieving guy who becomes a hero by fighting zombies. And
it's just reminded me, actually, just you saying about zombies. I don't know if you remember, when we were filming a sketch in the series in Glasgow, Barry Manilow was playing at the SECC in Glasgow, and we were dressed as roadies for some reason.
That's right.
All my equipment was on a trolley, and we were pushing the trolley into the hotel lobby, and all of Barry Manilow's fans were staying in this hotel, and they were just like, and they saw us, and they thought, wait a minute, Barry Manilow, roadies, maybe it's something to do with Barry Manilow, and they started to come towards us like that, and well, you tell you what you did, because hats off for bravery.
What did I do?
You know, I'll tell you what you did. I'll tell you what you did, and again, I've always had maximum respect for you for this. Barry Manilow fans are big women, big, powerful women with powerful handbags and big forearms and a flinty look of hatred in their eyes at anyone that slags off Barry. And we were pushing this huge keyboard, a massive keyboard on a trolley, one of those bellboy trolleys. Yeah. And we were walking through, and they go, were you working on the Barry Manilow show? And you said, yeah, this is his nose. How we got out of there alive, I have no idea. How dare you!
Being chased by 100 or so middle-aged women was not a great experience.
All banging on the glass. So the film was a great success, and it went over great in America.
It did go well in America. We were just chuffed to bits about how well it went there and how well it was. It was very well received by the kind of film community over there, and you know, a
lot of people you worked with were in that. A lot of friends you worked with over the years.
You're in the next one.
Would it have killed you? You know, a zombie. I could have done that. You know. Okay. Yes. Now the next one. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz.
Starring Bill Bates.
Starring Bill. So how did that come about?
Well, Edgar was kind of keen to do something, I think, in the West Country. We've been talking about doing like an action movie.
Oh.
Well, that's where Edgar's from as well, is from Wells in Somerset.
Oh, and God, they pull their own heads off there.
Yeah, they're bloody mad.
Lunatics.
Bloody loonies they are. But he kind of like had this... He'd done a film, one of his amazing sort of films he did when he was a kid, which was a sort of cop action film, and I think he always wanted to kind of expand that into something with a bit more, when we had a bit more budget, or he had a budget at all. And so he came up with this idea of trying to make what is ostensibly perhaps the first British action film, excluding Bond, because Bond is set everywhere, but this is an action movie kind of set in Shepton Mallet.
Shepton Mallet. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Finally, somebody has the vision to adopt Shepton Mallet. Yeah. You'll have the Shepton Mallet film tourists there, won't you? And that's where they do the...
That's where that bloke was killed?
Yeah.
We actually we were turned away by Star on the Wold, and then they suddenly changed their minds and said, oh, no, we do want you, come back. But we'd already moved on. But there's a whole host of kind of very venerable British actors in it, and...
Great.
You know...
Edward Woodward.
But it's going to be a hoot.
So busy. Really doing a lot more acting then, really. And
yeah.
Do you think that you sort of see all the kind of things you've written? The actual comedy, the actual perception of it has changed since you've been performing.
Absolutely, I think comedy evolves. Certainly, I mean, it kind of. I don't know if the perception changes. I think it just. The style of it changes. We all find the same things funny. We're all amused by similar things. It's always disruption of normality and juxtaposition of categories, all this kind of stuff, you know. Yeah. One of the easiest ways to tell a joke is to get a Trivial Pursuit card, ask a question, then answer it with the wrong answer. Go home and do it. It'll make you piss yourself laughing. It's great. Who invented the steam engine? Cheese. It's absolutely that question actually was, what rolls down a hill in Gloucester? But,
your dreams.
Yeah.
Was anyone that you particularly loved then when as a kid? Any great influences which you've seen as a kind of that keep coming back?
I love Morecambe and Wise. I mean, if we're going right back to the kind of the real classics, then Morecambe and Wise and Oliver Hardy and Stan Laurel, obviously, otherwise known as Laurel and Hardy. I don't know why. Remember Oliver Hardy and Stan Laurel?
What are they known as?
They had a catchy name. And then growing up, like the Young Ones was enormous. You know, that was a real impact on me because it was one of those shows that really spoke. And seemed to be against everything old and kind of reactionary and, you know... I hate it when people bemoan, there's no comedy around at the moment. There's always great comedy around. There's always... Just because you can't see it on the TV or something, it doesn't mean it's not around.
Every year in Edinburgh, somebody writes an article saying the death of stand-up. This year, stand-up's died. Death of stand-up. And next year, it comes back. It died again. It comes back again. It's the Time Lord of comedic presence. Yeah. It's just... It's just something to write about. Yeah. So what do you plan to do then? Do you want to write more stuff, write more comedy? Do you ever think about
One
going
thing
back
I'm not
to
going to do is Mission Impossible 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Pegg. Yeah.